After my last video was pretty much a straight hour of negativity, only further enhanced by the sudden announcement of Majima Pirate Game and my resulting harsh words towards people who pre-ordered it already, I felt it would be appropriate to make good on my mention of a more positive video after that. My poor soul can only take so much Gaiden hate in one sitting, and I certainly don't want to burn y'all out on a bunch of Yakuza criticism before I have the chance to talk about any of the games I actually like. So I figured what better way to rectify both of those things than to make a positive video about Gaiden. Unfortunately, this now comes with the challenge of having to make a positive video about Guiden. I made it pretty clear in the Agent Style video that my problems with the game run deep, far past the combat, but then I realized something. I purposefully played the vanilla version of that game to properly capture how flawed its combat is, when, in reality, I wouldn't be caught dead playing vanilla Gaiden. I deleted the game off my PS5 straight after I published that video, because I hate it. So how about I make a video about how I choose to play the game, whenever I feel the urge to subject myself to it, with mods. Having only recently gotten a laptop capable of playing modern games, I have been reveling in the ability to play games I already love with the ability to throw in some extra spice in the form of mods. Play any game for long enough, you'll want to change something up. Thankfully, the Yakuza community is full of some very talented individuals, doing anything from basic model swaps to custom movesets to changing the music and visual filters, up to full-on changing the game itself into a spiritual sequel to Dead Souls. This has got to be one of the most impressive undertakings I've ever seen, for a game that wasn't made by Bethesda, at least. Doubly so for a completely narrative-driven, linear experience with baked-in cutscenes and 2 playable characters. Keep an eye on this if you haven't been. There's mods for every game in the series that's available on PC, and while some scenes are more active than others, all of them are receiving passion and love from a very talented fan base. Thankfully for me, and for everybody else, one of those games is Gaiden. Even discounting my problems with Agent Style though, the game, as I mentioned, has some serious problems. Yakuza Style has been mangled and pumped full of ketamine, and even the enemy design is mostly worse than it's been in previous games. As such, it would take much more than making Agent Style playable to render Gaiden as a whole playable, at least in my eyes. What would it take? Well, I've got a convenient little list of all the things it would take. Trailers and showcases for each of these mods will be linked in the description when appropriate, because there's a lot of minutia I don't want to get into with this video. This isn't going to be a deep dive like the last video, so much as it's going to be a general overview and recommendation. So if any of these mods pique your interest, you can check them out after finishing the video and liking and subscribing and sending me $5 million in the mail. I expect it by next Monday. Also, just to make it absolutely clear, my criticisms I have towards any of these mods are coming from someone with zero modding experience. I'm happy saying whatever I want about a big-ass game made by a big-ass company, but most of these mods were made by one person, with help from others in the modding community at times. I don't want to make it sound at all like I think I could do any better than what these people were able to accomplish, and I certainly don't want to make any of these creators feel like I dislike their mods or themselves. These are all my personal opinions, and you shouldn't feel obligated to take them as me requesting or demanding that you change the mods to suit my individual interests. Your efforts towards improving the games you work with are greatly appreciated, and no fanbase would be complete without people like you. So thank you very much for making all of the mods in this video, and for all the ones I'm not talking about today. Even the Bare Feet Women mods. It's not for me, but I'm sure it's for someone. You do you. Before getting into the combat itself, there's one very important mod I want to mention, and that's Boss Replay. I've expressed my disdain for Gaiden's Coliseum in the previous video, and while this doesn't fix all of my problems with it, it certainly goes a decent way towards making it worthwhile. You can access most of the boss fights in the game from here, some of them sub-story specific. And not only that, you can use any Coliseum fighter you want in these fights. A couple of the combat mods I'll discuss soon after have changes for some Coliseum fighters, so you can carry those improvements into these boss fights if you want. As long as RGG refuses to bring back the climax battles, this will have to do in the meantime. Another important mod, or set of mods in this case, is a full overhaul of the boutique system. The vanilla version is fine, I very much enjoy changing my outfit in any game that allows me to do that, but the system here is so bare bones that I prefer a complete reinvention of it rather than just working with the tools given to me. I very much enjoy having easy access to such a wealth of legacy outfits and unique ones on top of that. I'm sure a lot of the ones I have downloaded are conflicting with one another. There's one shirt in here that's supposed to say I am not Kiryu that I wish I could figure out how to make work. But even without that, I really enjoy what this overhaul does with the boutique. I'd love to see customizable outfits like this make their way into Majima Pirate Game. Or if not this, then please just let us choose the texture and color for each individual piece of the outfit ourselves. Look at Saints Row. For as much as Saints Row's done wrong over the course of its life, you cannot go wrong with that outfit customization system. Anyway, it's time for the main event. There's a few different combat mods for Gaiden that I've downloaded, and I want to give each of them some time in the spotlight. Starting out simple and clean, Like a Dragon Gaiden Deluxe aims to make the game feel better to play, more than changing the movesets themselves. This is accomplished by increasing the amount of time you have to dodge cancel out of attacks, both in Agent and Yakuza style. This is a complete godsend for Agent, and it makes several of its moves safer and more applicable in juggling and normal combat. Agent's running square and turning square now also go into the first finisher, and its reverse finishers have been restored, which makes the moveset feel more cohesive and complete. Also, more moves have launching properties across the board, which gives Agent more of a reason to be used in one-on-one boss fights. Some moves have also been swapped around. Agent's 2 square 2 triangle now finishes on what was the back sway attack, which itself has been replaced by what I think is Majima's thug-style back sway attack, but it's definitely not that when I look closer at it, and I have no idea what it is. All of these things are also doable in Extreme Heat, as the combo has been remapped to triangle, like in the Judgment games. Easily the best addition, though, is the parry. It works just like it did in 6 and Kiwami 2, and I wouldn't have it any other way. All around, Agent's style now feels like what the style was attempting to be. Even if I still don't enjoy its original vision very much, this feels leagues better to use than vanilla Agent. As for Yakuza style, this is where I feel a little bit more iffy. It's faster, and the charge indicators have been replaced with Tiger styles, which alone makes it better than vanilla Yakuza, but those are true of all of the mods I'm showing here. Most of the unique changes with Gaiden Deluxe are active alterations to the moveset itself, which is where it starts to lose me. One of the main things I enjoy about Kiryu's Reborn style, as I've come to call it, is its moveset. What some would call limited, I call tightly designed. Kiwami 2 adding the charged light attacks sort of threw off that tightness for me, but this mod adding in the beast finishers makes them feel a bit more like they belong there. Replacing the charged heavy from K2 with 6's charged heavy is also appreciated. I really don't know why RGG even changed that. That said, I don't really like how some other moves have been replaced for seemingly no reason. Grab Triangle uses the PS3 animation. 1 square 2 triangle is done with the opposite hand. The back sway attack now uses running triangle, and the running triangle is replaced with this jumping knee that I can't quite place. None of these changes improve how Yakuza feels, and I'd say some of them actually feel worse. All of these changes, and yet the throw is still Yakuza 0's brawler throw, which doesn't hit enemies and takes way too long to finish. I'm a lot more positive on its passive changes, mainly in how you can use charged light attacks and juggle combos because the charge time's been sped up, and how the finishing throw is usable without extreme heat. Although an active change I do like is the return of the Komaki parry, which was strangely absent in Gaiden, despite the knockback recovering from its pathetic state in Kiwami 2. All in all, like I said, Gaiden Deluxe aims to preserve most of what Gaiden was going for with its combat system, while speeding up and improving things in pretty much every regard. Even after spending some time with this mod, I'm of the mind that you can't fix Gaiden just by making what it already has work a little bit better. But if you want a mod that improves the game without making it feel too different, this one is for you. If you want a mod that changes things a little bit more, there's also Overuse Fight. This one seems to have taken some cues from Gaiden Deluxe, namely in various updates adding a parry and a damage weave to Agent, beast finishers to Yakuza, removing health requirements for a couple heat actions, and making 3 square 2 triangle for Agent a launcher. But other than those and some other things, this is a very original take on Gaiden's combat. There are some alterations to the base movesets, mainly in Agent's square triangle getting a second finisher that launches, but the main thing that sets this mod apart are the custom combos given to triangle. There are 3 new strings added for both Agent and Yakuza. 3 triangle, 1 triangle 4 square, and 2 triangle 3 square. Some of the moves in those strings are launchers, so for all intents and purposes, these are just wholly new combos. They look pretty good too, with Agent borrowing some moves from Yagami and Tsuruno's movesets, and Yakuza mostly building off of Kiryu's previous moves with a touch of Shishido thrown in. They can be a bit slow on startup, but for what they are, they feel like meaningful additions and not just gimmicks. Also like Gaiden Deluxe, this mod adds some new counters. But where Agents in Deluxe was simply its dodge triangle move from extreme heat made usable without that, this mod incorporates Serpent into a sweep that launches the enemy, and it's easily followed up on. Both styles also get new circle counters, with Agent getting Yagami's kicky snake move from Lost Judgment, and Yakuza getting a brand new counter that looks nice, but takes a bit too long for my liking. Yakuza also gets a sway square attack like Agents. I believe it's ripped from Shishido's moveset. It's great. It blends in well with Yakuza's square hits, and it doesn't linger for too long after it's done. Good for breaking guard before you go into a combo. Heat gain has also been increased, so you won't have any trouble getting into extreme heat to see that, once again, Agent's new combo is mapped to triangle. Going into this mod, I was a bit worried that it would make the game too easy, but none of the new moves or changes to old moves make the game feel unbalanced. This vision of Agent and Yakuza style is a fair bit different from what the base game was going for, but honestly, I don't think I'd mind a full Yakuza game with combos designed in this way. I found myself not wanting to stop playing around with it as I was recording footage for this video. It just works that well and feels that good. Hell, I'd go so far as to say if Majima Pirate Game uses this sort of system when it goes in and out of its thug combos, I'll give that game some real credit. Still won't buy it, probably, but it's a good idea that deserves to be iterated on. As for this mod though, give it a shot if you want a slightly different flavor of combat that fleshes out both styles without straight up replacing them. Alright, that's all for the preamble. Now on to the main event. AAA is a creator that I've been keeping an eye on ever since he released Legend Remix Zero, which is a mod so good that I genuinely cannot go back to Vanilla Zero combat without feeling gimped. I bought Yakuza 7 and Gaiden on PC just to use his mods, on heavy sales, granted I'm not that crazy, and I haven't been disappointed yet by any of them. Every game he touches, he breathes new life into, and you can tell he's a very passionate fan of the series, with the way he implements older features left to the wayside in new and imaginative ways. Gaiden is no different. Starting with Yakuza style, he's essentially ported over the changes he made with Legend Remix K2, but kept its Gaiden-based identity intact. For starters, the combo speed is once again boosted, and moves like his custom kick combo and the Lotus Flare Fist have been brought in, the latter of which now uses Lost Judgment's Flex Fissure UI. You can perform finishers out of charged lights, and even reverse finishers out of single finishers. The charged heavy is Yakuza 6's, as is the running heavy. Heat actions have been altered so that full and low health requirements aren't just removed, like the other mods, they're replaced. The busted ass essence of the Dragon King move now requires an enemy to be stunned to use it, like in Yakuza 3. Essence of Tiger Crush now requires full heat bars to use, and the double head bonk not only requires an attacking enemy, it's regained its iconic sound effect. These changes in particular reflect Yakuza 3 and 4's version of Red Heat. Again, you can tell AAA loves this series. Small details like that and the neck snap at the end of the heavy object stomp heat action are proof of how well he knows Yakuza. And yeah, you heard that right, he re-added downed weapon heat actions, which for some reason were removed. Even if I don't like some things like the neck snap, I'm not very partial to it. Not only are they entirely aesthetic, I could hardly bring myself to demand the removal of something that's clearly only here because he likes it so much. On these editions alone, I'd call Legend Remix Gaiden phenomenal, but that's not even considering how much he's done for Agent style. Not only does it now feel like a complete style, I'd go so far as to say he's turned it into a good style. Still not great, probably. My aesthetic and martial arts based complaints remain, although, as long as I'm talking about that, I would like to mention that no, it's not based on Muay Thai. As many of you pointed out in the comments, it's an amalgamation of several different martial arts, one of which being Taido. What's Taido? You wouldn't believe me if I told you, so just watch this. Yeah, it's that. This is real. There are people out here that practice this, and not only do they practice it, they apply it. I watched some sparring matches of this kind of thing, and this stuff actually looks usable when it's being done by a trained practitioner. Goes to show the importance of research, I guess. Sorry about that. But it also goes to show why I love martial arts so much. The fact that this is real says so much about what can be turned into a martial art. I mean, hell, I did a presentation on capoeira just to cap off my Brazilian Portuguese course in college. I shouldn't have doubted that something like Taito could exist. But all of this also shows another thing, which is that it's very important to call out the YouTubers you watch on their bullshit. I don't want this to be the sort of place where I can say something wrong so confidently that everyone just accepts that it's true. That doesn't apply to opinions, obviously, but with things like this, factual errors, I'd like to thank everyone who called me out in the comment section, and I'd like to encourage that you continue that behavior should I make another mistake in the future. Obviously, be polite, please. I don't want to just be called an idiot for no reason. But also, someone who's way smarter than me, please make some kind of compilation of obscure martial arts in Yakuza. I'd love to see what other things of this nature the series has included as just throwaway moves. Anyway, back on track. Agent Style is wonderful. Once again, it has a parry and the extreme heat combos on triangle, but that's only the beginning. For starters, some square strikes have the ability to inflict stun with enough use. Some are in the base combo, but the sway square strike and even the Rakushasa strikes also have this ability, as well as a new square counter called the Daidoji Riposte. Because yeah, on top of everything else, Legend Remix mods also incorporate their combat changes into the base game's upgrade system, so they all come with names and descriptions in-game. This helps a lot with the more obscure things, such as some timing-based abilities for the base heavy and first finisher. And there's also a throw option out of a parry, similar to how I've seen some people implement the Komaki parry into Yakuza 2. Some people might actually be AAA now that I think about it. Anyway, the gadgets have also been somewhat revamped. You can dodge out of the spider's grab, which leaves enemies tied up. I was also informed you can style switch out of it in extreme heat, but with this, it's far more simple and far more intuitive. The Hornet drones come out faster, Firefly does more damage and doesn't damage you with its extreme heat variant, and Serpent now has some special moves done by dodging while holding guard. I'm pretty sure these moves are wholly original animations, as well as the riposte. But what I know is an original animation is the new air recovery, also done with Serpent. And the changes don't stop there. Somehow this genius has added wall-bounding combos into the game. It's not exactly the same as 3, but I don't want it to be. He's also added new hit reactions for certain moves, which further differentiates Agent's finishers from each other. That is one thing I didn't talk about in the other video, but it is something it desperately needed, and he gave it to it. Bosses can also use bounding and juggle combos now, too. While he hasn't done much to fix Gaiden's enemy AI, which I don't know if that's even possible, this change does make boss fights way more thrilling. There's so much I haven't talked about, way more than I could do in this video alone, but there are full changelogs available on his Nexus Mods page, so go have a read if you want to see the full extent of what he did here. And go download the full Legend Remix series if you want to see what AAA is capable of making in better games! To summarize, check out Gaiden Deluxe for a more polished experience of the base game, Overuse Fight for a wholly new experience, and Legend Remix Gaiden for peak! This is the only way I'm ever going to play Gaiden from now on, unless I want to switch things up with one of the other mods I've mentioned, or some new one I haven't discovered yet. That's how good Legend Remix is. Please give it a shot. You are really missing out if you haven't. Anyway, that wraps up discussion on the moveset mods. There are a couple of character swap mods I've tried, like a detective and the gorilla who erased his name are fun in their own ways, if you're looking for a complete style replacement mod. But in terms of fundamental changes to Gaiden's combat system that don't involve moveset alterations at all, you can't go wrong with no juggle limit. It's all in the name, get rid of that pesky super armor and extend those combos to infinity. Another crucial one is free upgrades. No built-in New Game Plus mode because Sega is one of the slimiest companies in the gaming industry. Make your own. There's even special compatibility versions of both of these mods for Legend Remix. That is how good it is. Please play it. I've also downloaded some mods for aesthetic purposes, one of which replaces the heat action sound effect with the one from 6 and Kiwami 2. Entirely personal preference on that. There's also one that changes the style icons to something more traditional, and another one that replaces Kiryu's voice lines in battle with more age-appropriate ones that he uses in 7 and 8, to match Kuroda's performance in the cutscenes. I have plenty more mods installed that change some karaoke things, some that change the background music in the Coliseum and the Akame Network menu, but in terms of changing the combat, that's about it. I wouldn't say that any combination of these mods turns Gaiden into a good game. Obviously you can't mod out the story, for example. Best option I have for that is turning off subtitles. But considering active gameplay alone, as I often do with the games in this series, these mods go a long way towards making the game tolerable. Enjoyable, even. Dare I say, fun. If you have the ability to try them and you have yet to do that, I implore you to bite the bullet and give them a shot. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry these videos keep taking a while to come out. It's a very busy period for me. That, and I've been figuring out how I want to tackle a new series I have in mind. One more thing on top of everything else, right? Just keep an eye out for a post sometime soon that should explain what I mean by that. For now, though, I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself.